Hello, everyone. A big welcome and thank you for joining. My name is Jane here with We Are, and yeah, I hope you're looking forward to our webinar today alongside FlowSparks. So while we're kind of waiting for the attendees to kind of finish joining, I would be curious, and feel free to just type it directly into the chat, but where in the world is everyone actually joining from today? I myself am here in Amsterdam. So yeah, I'm curious. Okay, we're getting lots. Oh, a couple of others from the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain. Oh, we've got Greece. Jealous of that one. Okay, great. Well, yeah, as you can see, the chat is open and working. So while we do hope to have some time for a Q&A at the end, I do really encourage you to use it throughout today's webinar if you have any questions. Yeah, it's all about engagement today, so we can, I guess, practice what we preach and keep things interactive. We'll also have team members from both We Are and FlowSparks answering any of those questions as we go along. And of course, you will get access to this recording after the webinar is finished. We'll send it directly to you. So yeah, no need for note taking. You can really focus on what we're doing here today. So let's get into it. I'm personally really excited about today's topic. I think I'm definitely coming at this webinar from more of a learner than a learning designer's perspective. And I guess what that means, and I'll be pretty honest, is that I've sat through a lot of training that just didn't really stick. I'm sure you know the kind, check a box, pick the least wrong looking answer, click next, and you've forgotten it by your next call. So that's why I'm looking forward to it today. And we've got two really awesome learning experts here to show us how to flip that script and move from passive to more active learning and create learning content that is actually engaging, memorable, and yeah, I guess fun. So we're going to be guided by a didactical lens, and we'll look at how we can actually structure learning in a way that really holds attention using storytelling, real life scenarios, and characters that are going to help your learners actually connect with the content. And we'll also, of course, touch on how AI can really speed up this workflow and bring it all to life. So yeah, we'll finish it out with Sean and Stine actually walking you through actual examples built using both FlowSparks and We Are. So whether you're an instructional designer or a learner slash ed tech enthusiast like myself, there should be a lot to take away. So yeah, with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Sean and Stine to introduce themselves.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Stine.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Stine. I'm an instructional designer and pedagogue working here at We Are Learning, and I must say I'm super excited for this webinar. Finally, we can talk about how to create engaging content. And I talk to a lot of instructional designers every day working in We Are, and for sure, this is a topic that's both challenging and I think is the core of everything we're working on, how to create engaging courses that really stick. So excited for the webinar.
Yeah, hi, everyone. And I'm Sean. I'm a customer success manager at FlowSparks, at the company. I've been working there for 5 years now. My job is quite straightforward. I do the follow-up of every customer that decides to move forward using our tool FlowSparks, making sure they get the full value out of it. But at the same time, I'm look out for ways to keep improving that, making sure that we stay ahead of the curve. Before that, I've been active as a history teacher, as well as being operational in several government organizations. So you could say I do have some experience trying to engage a very diverse set of learners.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. And I guess before I do kind of fully hand it over to you, I'm going to bring it back to the audience again here. So maybe you want to use the chat and you can just pop in a number. No need to write it all out. But for everybody watching here today, what would you say you found to be the biggest challenge when making training engaging? And yeah, I guess while we're waiting for that chat to start coming in. Okay, we're getting... Okay, a nice range Yeah, I think we're getting kind of an even split there, which is quite cool. I guess before we get into it, I'd kind of like to hand it over to yourselves, Sean and Stina, and get your thoughts on what you'd consider to be maybe the biggest barriers ID instructional designers or learning teams do face when they're designing engaging learning.
Yeah, like on my side, I see a big drawback happening with my clients. First of all, a lot of things are getting digitalized now, which is great because you really see a real interest in L&D people in finding new ways to present learning materials digitally. But the biggest barrier I see happening is that the focus still relies on content delivery rather on user engagement, whereby the first is seen as a need to have and the latter rather as a nice to have, which is not the correct way to go about this. I think the people we are learning will approve of this, is that the user engagement is vital to making sure that you'll have the required impact and connection with your learner, making sure that you'll not have the mistake of just following the structure and having an information overload rather than actually have a focused and a goal you want to achieve with your e-learning. So in short, I see still too much checking boxes, too much focus on content delivery rather than user engagement.
Seeing a lot of thumbs up in the chat there, so I think we've got some agreement amongst the audience.
For sure. And just following up with what Sean said, I think the focus is more on creating more content than better learning in many cases. And I think as an instruction designers, we want to create memorable courses. We want to create the learning that really sticks. That's like our biggest motivation. But we do see both. I would say both time is an issue here. You need to create courses in a fast way. How can you don't really have time to sit down and really make something great, and often when you work too much it's outdated a month later. So it's the time is definitely an issue here. And also when it comes to resources, maybe you don't have that many instructional designers or a lot of people in your team. Maybe you're missing graphic designers, text writers, or so on. So for sure, also resources. And I think the third one is definitely the cost, money. It until now it has been expensive to create a great animation video or having many different tools. We do see a change here now for sure, but I think looking at the bigger perspective, I definitely would say that these are three main points to kind of understand the reason why we are here today.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, guys. So I guess, well, Sean, I'm going to hand it over to you. I think it's a pretty good time to get a deeper look on how we can actually design these engaging learnings.
Absolutely, absolutely. Allow me to hijack the screen here because I did prepare a PowerPoint for you guys. So if everything goes well, this should now be visible for you. Just clicking real quickly. I think see a lot of thumbs up. I think it is. All right, fantastic. So yeah, the first, and it's a funny thing, and it's also a bit linked about what I was talking about at the beginning of our webinar. And it surprises me that after all this time, I still have to repeat this because it's a mistake I see a lot of new clients do, is they start with the content itself and they build from there. And that is a big mistake because you have the risk of just like reproducing the content you have and not really thinking along, what am I trying to achieve with my e-learning? So what the first like tip I would give is really decide on your learning goal. It will really help you decide what is the information you really need to put in and what information can be saved for later use, you could say. So that will mean that you're more focused on the impact rather than the information you want to provide. And also think that's quite important is to aim to reach like one meaningful milestone. I think that's really important, especially for like the subject matter experts among the group here. Lots of
Sure.
time. Yes.
I'm going to very quick say you're in presenter mode. So there we go. Amazing.
Thank you very much. Right. Yeah, I was talking about the subject matter experts because a lot of time they say like, everything is important. And you can't really be that naive in the sense that you're going to put all the information in there, hoping that everything's going to be seen, let alone be remembered by your learners. So I'd say at the beginning, just be humble. Try to have like one meaningful milestone you want to have at the end of your e-learning. In a way now that just think about one thing you really want your learners to remember or be able to do at the end of it. Now, that approach, that learning goal approach, is also the reason why I love working for my company, FLOWSPARKS, is because that's how FLOWSPARKS is really built. For the people who don't know FLOWSPARKS is what we call a template-based e-learning authoring tool. Means basically that our clients themselves can build their own e-learnings using our templates. We're not the only one, of course. There's several template-based authoring tools out there. The big difference is that if you use FLOWSPARKS, you need to start working with that learning goal in mind. That's also the reason we don't offer one template. We actually offer several. We have over 20 of them, because we do know you can have different learning goals you want to achieve. Now, the use of templates is great because a lot of the aspects in e-learning creation is already being taken care of, right? The visual design, for example, that's not something you need to worry about with a template. You just fill in the template and the template will take care how everything is presented, how the visuals are going to be dealt with. The next thing is the technical setup. Also, not something you need to worry about with a template because, well, you don't need to do all the testing and making sure that every button actually works. Now, what's the difference with FLOWSPARKS is what you see with a lot of these template-based tools is that it's very easy to add a title, add an image, add an interactive element. But it doesn't really explain to you what makes a good and effective e-learning. That's why FLOWSPARKS is different, because in our templates, the instructional design is already present. We're going to rely on already proven e-learning strategies that are prepared with the template, meaning this is the process our clients are going through. They're going to select and define their goal, have been linked towards the right template. And then basically it's just a process of having trust and building a confidence because the template will take care of your content, of your expertise. Now, how does it actually look in practice? And maybe now is a good time to deep dive in the sort of learning goals you could have for your project. And there could be very wide range of things. Now I've got some few examples and they're quite broad, I know. But maybe you may be interested in sparking interest in a new tool you want to launch within your company. Or maybe you might be interested in transfer knowledge about a new code of conduct policy that came into play. You might be interested in practicing content or doing something about assessment. Now, anything you have, it's not really to worry about FLOWSPARKS, because again, for each goal, we've prepared a template form. A nice example of the last one, for example, the assessment, is our on-the-spot template, where we're literally going to put people on the spot. We're going to present the learner with a few situations, and they have to assess, is that in line, in this case, with the company policy around alcohol use on the work floor. So the on-the-spot is a template that's really been based on situational learning, whereby, as you can see here, we have a title page. That's how we start off with. You can also see like responsive design that's already been built in FLOWSPARKS, meaning I don't really have to worry about any kind of device it's going to be played at. So I'm going to start off with a title page and then straight going into a situation where every time I'm going to be presented with the same question, the positive and a negative answer. And on the left, going to be presented with different situations whereby I'll get feedback if I made this the right or the wrong assessment. Now, for a seasoned instructional designer, this might look like a very straightforward and logical way to present that sort of information. But again, FLOWSPARKS is template-based and really been built for users that don't really have a lot of time, but also don't have a lot of experience making e-learning. This also shows that the moment you decide on your learning goal, I've decided this is what I want to achieve with your e-learning, thanks to the templates, strategy now is very clear, very straightforward, and you can keep on focusing on the content itself. A last thing that might be quite important, because you say like, okay, this is all nice and all, but maybe the e-learning I have in mind is a lot bigger and might consist of actually several learning goals I want to achieve. Even that is not really an issue using FlowSparks, but a big risk if you're using different tools. As you can see here, maybe you have something in mind where you want to start off sparking interest of your learner, transfer some kind of knowledge, practice that knowledge, and end over an assessment in the form of a final test. And FlowSparks is actually very easy to do using what we call our smart programs. The goal of this session is not really to give you a demo of how FlowSpark works, but basically the templates can act as, let's say, Lego building blocks. They can consist on their own and be your e-learning, but you can also click them together and have a learning path that consists of different sets of templates. Now, why is that important? And this is very crucial because you see that a lot in e-learning projects, which are a bit bigger, is that people, again, when they start with the content, they end up just reproducing the source material they have. And they have, at the end, an e-learning that consists of, let's say, 60 slides, where they have to click next to go to the other slides. And they might start off very motivated and ambitious, but halfway through, they're more eager to get through it because they've lost the sense of progression and the direction which the e-learning is taking them. Thanks to FlowSparks and thanks to the learning formats, even your bigger programs are going to be chopped up and feasible and straightforward micro learning, because each of these learning goals have a worked template with a specific goal in mind, giving again a more engaging, more impactful e-learning, because every chapter has their own goal in mind and they will have your learner a bigger sense of progression. So in short, and there to conclude, the first tip to give you guys is pretty much stay focused, right? If you want to do impactful or engaging e-learning, you should always strive to have one clear goal. That will help you in deciding on the strategy and deciding what kind of content you want to put into there. For FlowSparks, it's quite easy because then you can just rely on the template, and that will promise you a more focused experience for learners. So this is one way to make sure that your e-learning and the time you're going to invest in that e-learning has to be very effective. But next to that, you also want to have an engaging experience. And therefore, we have different strategies. An important one is storytelling. But for that, I think Stine might be a better fit to help you along with that.
Thank you so much, John. This was amazing. And it is what you said, like how to keep the motivation and how to keep them engaged throughout the whole course. It's not easy. So I'll dig more into how to engage the learners in general. I myself, I love stories and storytelling. It hasn't been easy until now. So I would also like to show you a sneak peek of VR and also a live demo. So I'm doing it live together with you. So let me just go ahead and share my slides here. There we go. You can see my slides. Okay, good. So it all boils down to how to engage, and it's so. I think this is a thing the instruction designers discuss every time, how to engage the learners in this specific course. And it's so important when it comes to learning, both for the motivation, to keep the motivation to learn more, but also to really apply what you just learned. So definitely engagement is the key here. But engagement is also very difficult because it's very personal and unique. So that is why it's always a bit challenging to tackle. And for learners to be engaged, we see two very basic things I would like you to have in mind. And one of the things is that the content needs to be relevant. So the learners need to see the relevance in what they're studying or what they're going through. They need to see, okay, this is actually will help my daily job. It would help my daily tasks. They need to see a immediate relevance. So try not to be very general, but try to be very specific and kind of helping the learners to do their job better. And one other thing is it needs to be emotionally appealing, meaning I feel like often when we create courses, we often speak to the cognitive side of humans. But remember, we're humans. We relate to stories, we relate to people, and we relate to feelings. So having this emotional aspect is also very crucial to really have that engagement. And it's like watching TV. You're emotionally engaged, and you keep watching episode after episode on Netflix. So that is one important key as well. And that is why storytelling is so fantastic, I would say. It allows us to connect faster and also better than anything else. So with stories, learners can really feel like, okay, I actually live that. I have experienced this. This is exactly what I go through every day in customer service when I talk to customers, for example. And in we believe stories really engages us, and we tend to remember stories better. Just think about when you were a kid, you do remember stories being told, and it touches on our feelings and our emotions called pathos. And one other thing that I think it's so important, it turns something often very abstract into something relatable. We can relate to it. So stories are great. So just two examples. Instead of having a course about the strategy going towards 2030, you want to see the stories of the employees. You want to see their reaction to this strategy. What does it mean for the employees in the different organizations? Or does it mean for kids growing up? Or instead of having a course about what is GDPR, I have seen a lot of these courses. You can talk more about what happens if your digital identity is not protected. What does it really mean? Then we're talking about feelings, and we're not talking about the text-heavy cognitive side of learning. Of course, we need that too. But I'm sure filling something in, have some with courses as well, makes the course more dynamic. And this brings me to the next topic, storytelling. So what is storytelling? Storytelling is a pedagogical approach where you use stories and characters to to really engage the learners in a course. And when you are going to try to be a storyteller or try this approach, I recommend three things. First of all, I recommend you making scenarios and stories that are real life scenarios, that the learners feel like this is something that happens to me every day. One other thing is that it needs to be difficult enough. Don't make it too fluffy. I just had a webinar with Hadiya Nuruddin, and she said, "Don't be cute." So yeah, try to make it difficult. Try to make it really find the essence of what is the story and what is the problem. And one last thing is to work with your characters or work with the personas in the different stories. Add characters that the learners think, I know that person. That's typical my colleague, or that's very typical him. So work on the characters and work on the different personas. And stories come from your people. It comes from their emotions, their heart. So always, when you're creating stories, always put the people in the center. Good. And in VR, we also like to create something called mini scenarios. So talking about storytelling, you kind of feel like, it's such a big thing. It's impossible to make. But in VR, we love to create mini scenarios where you kind of go straight into a scenario, and it's only for a couple of minutes, and you need to make a decision within very short time. And these stories are great because it takes less time to create, and you can add a lot of them throughout the course. And also it's very easy to update. So don't think about this as a big task, but think about a small mini scenarios that you can add throughout your course. And in VR, we also love to talk about immersive learning. And in this sense, it means that immersive learning allows you to use technology to make these stories. And we have so many possibilities today with technology and AI than we have never had before. We can create stories in a much faster way. And where the learners can really practice in real life scenarios, and also practice what happens if I do anything wrong. What happens if I have a bad conversation with a client, for example? What happens then? So scenarios allow you to really test out and see what's not possible in real life. And often we talk about soft skills training, we talk about communication, onboarding, compliance training, pretty much anything. And let me see here. So we strongly believe that any one of you here today can create this within minutes with our tool. So that is also what I would like to show you. But before I dig into VR, I'll just quickly show you a video of content that you can create yourself.
You'll step into the shoes of a team member behind the counter.
Hi there, I'd like a Chick-fil-A deluxe sandwich and a medium waffle fries and a large sweet tea, please.
Got it. A sandwich, fries, and tea.
Throughout this course, we'll cover 5 key learning moments that help you master your role.
Hi there. I'm trying to remodel my kitchen, but I'm overwhelmed by all the cabinet styles. Can you help me figure out what would work best for my space? All right, team. We need to finalize our strategy for the upcoming project. Any ideas on how we should approach this?
Consider this. Your true goal is to contribute to others, not please them.
Why does it feel like I'm always chasing approval?
Yes. Sneak peek of a video. I'm happy to send it to you if you want to, but showing you inspiration of what you can create yourself with our characters. And here you see some of them. And going back to creating stories, of course, with our tool, you can get your custom characters and you can be the narrator in the story, deciding the personas and their roles. So here you see some of the beautiful characters that was recently launched within our tool. Okay, without any further ado, let us just jump into VR and I'll quickly show you how easy you can create a story yourself. Let me see here. So I'll go ahead and share. There we go. So here you see, here I'm logged into our VR demo account. And when I want to create my first story, I can just go ahead here. But before we do that, let me just quickly show you our character library. So here you have all our different characters. And of course, it's very easy to get custom ones if you like. And when you're creating a story, you need 2 things. You need your characters and you need your location. So where should your characters be placed? And once you have that, you're ready to go. So when I click on story here, I can go ahead and add a new story. Let me see here. So when I want to create my new story, I click on new story and then I get 3 options. I can either create a story from scratch, which most of our instructional designers will use the most. They want full control, but I can also have AI do a lot of the work for me. We also do have a PDF or a slide converter, so you can upload the slides to VR and we'll convert it into a story within minutes. But for now, let us just use Aiko, and I'll show you how easy it is. And Aiko first asked us, do we want to create a regular story or do we want to create an interactive story? Let us just go ahead and create a regular story for now. And here I'm asked to add my prompt. I have one ready already. So here my prompt is: write a monologue from a man at a large corporate firm who feels uneasy after replying to an email. He's quietly questioning whether he had made a mistake. Something feels off, and his thoughts turns to cybersecurity. So a well-known topic for many of you, I am pretty sure of. I click next, and then I need to say, okay, where should this character be located? Here I have my different location. Let us just go for one I just uploaded some days back. I now click continue, and then I need to set what kind of language I should have for my story. Let us just go for English. And now I need to choose what kind of characters I would like to have in my story. Let me see if I find the perfect one. Let me see here. There we go. I'll add him there, and if I click on Chris here, I can also choose what kind of voice Chris or this character should have. I'll just preview some for you.
Tell me and I forget.
Learning is not just about.
In learning, we find the courage to embrace the. He waved to acknowledge the crowd.
Tell me and I
Let
forget.
us just go for
Teach me and I may remember.
And we integrate with Azure and 11 Labs, so there's definitely many voices to choose from. I give this guy a name and some characteristics, and then I get a summary of what I would like my story to be all about. And then I just go ahead and click Generate Story. And now AI will just give me a suggestion. So here you see the script. I just hit send on this email, but now I am second guessing myself. So here we have the script. I can of course regenerate this if I want to, but let us just for now click Animate Story. And what AI now will do, he will turn what I have just asked him to create. He will put this into VR and he will make a story out of it. So here now you see the different nodes. You're seeing the script being chunked up to the different nodes. And of course, we have full flexibility here. We can go ahead and edit it. We can fine-tune the script and animation and so on. But without us doing any edits, why don't we just see what AI has created for us?
I just hit send on that email, but now I'm second guessing myself. Did I overlook something important? It felt routine, but now it seems too easy. Was the recipient really who they claim to be? Cybersecurity feels like a vague concept until you're faced with the possibility of a breach. What if I just compromised everything?
Yeah, so within seconds, I do have a story now that I can go ahead and fine-tune to exactly how I would like it to be. So zooming in here, I do have AI to improve my writing. I can go here and start typing or editing. One other cool thing is that you can also click on Studio here and animate this character further. So just I want to quickly show you here how fun it is to play with the different, here you have the different idols. So how he is standing, he could be explaining or even be furious or intoxicated. He can also be typing on a computer. Here we go. There we go. So here he is typing on a computer, and when I click play here.
Second guessing myself. Did I overlook something important?
Yeah, so that's how easy they can have different way of standing. And let me see here. I'll just turn it back to here. And he can also have different emotions, confident, he could be happy. It all depends on what this story is all about. And you can also go ahead and add the different gestures as well. So here you have a library of 100 different gestures where you can easily add them to your timeline. So here.
I just hit send on that email, but now I'm second guessing myself.
Yeah. And you can also go in here and say, okay, I don't want it to be questioning. I want you to be have more fear and be scared. Here we go.
Did I overlook something important?
And then suddenly he's
overlook?
scared. And here you can also go ahead and record your own voice, and you can also, of course, upload your own images to this timeline also if you like to. And our characters are in 3D, so they can be moved around, and you can easily also add up to 5 different characters in the scene. One more thing I would like to show you is that you can also very easily add interactivity. So here I'll just go ahead and say, okay, I want him to ask me a question. What should I do next? And I want to have 3 different options. So here we're talking about branch scenarios, and I either need to click on A, B, or C to proceed. And for those of you that have been working a bit with storytelling, and branch scenarios is a very visual way of working with your scripts, and you can easily loop them back together. And we do have also AI, a part of our solution. So in this right corner here, I can go ahead and type in. And so now I want Aiko, our AI bot, to give me 3 different options based on what should I do next. And he will provide me with 3 different options here. So let me see. There we go. Yeah. So here, again, he should contact IT immediately, or he should change his credentials, or talk to a colleague. There we go. And now it's very easy to preview this for you. Let me see here. Let me see. Yeah. And here, I'll just do a refresh. There we go. And he would just need to click on play.
What should I do next?
And you get the 3 different options on the right side. And you either need to click A, B, or C. I see you're on a stage, Jane, so I'll stop my demo here, and you can take it from there.
Much appreciated. No, I nearly forgot. I was too immersed in cybersecurity, which is not something you usually find. So, yeah, I would love to hand it over now to Sean to see kind of, I guess, how that AI works in FlowSparks as well. Sean should be joining us soon. We don't have a connection issue. There we go. I'm not sure. Let's see. Sean is able to join still. Okay, we could have a connection issue possibly with Sean. Yeah, so I think Sean, oh, there we go. Awesome, Sean. Well, I'll pass it over to you for the AI and FlowSparks as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry, one is going a bit south today. But yeah, the last one I definitely want to talk about is a bit linked to AI as well, just as Stine was presenting to you. I'm going to go back, sharing my screen again, and hoping that goes well this time. There we go. And the last topic I definitely want to discuss is maybe an obvious one, in the sense that, yes, we can a lot of creative input using AI. But I want to talk about maybe the most obvious one is the speed at which we now can create and design our e-learnings. And the fact that, yes, you can design a lot faster using AI, but with the right methodology, you can also use it a lot smarter and thus have a more effective way in creating your e-learning. For that, it might be useful to refer to a principle that we hold quite daily here at FlowSparks. It's called the successive approximation model. And it's it's actually an agile way of giving feedback when you're building your e-learning. It's a bit of the concentration we haven't discussed yet today. Why is it so important? Well, in my past as an e-learning designer, I usually work together with a subject expert. And to be frank, most of the time when I began with a new topic, half the time I didn't really realize or really know what the topic was about. So it was really important for me to have insights and feedback on what's really important when I want to tackle that topic. I was really good at presenting the way in a nice, fashionable way, but I was really struggling in making sure that, do I now have the core issues tackled, making sure that my learners would understand. Now, for the people who don't know, I have a little overview of how that looks like. And to be fair, the image might look a bit daunting. So I'm going to focus primarily on the first bit. I really explain what the SAM model is all about. And we're not going to beat around the bush here. I mean, a lot of L&D people, even e-learning designers, don't have much time on their hands, especially when they're going to create an e-learning. So we'll make sure that the time they have is going to be invested as good as possible. And the way to go about that is the way you're going to gather the feedback. The idea of the SAM is very quickly trying to set up a prototype and come to what we call an MVP, a minimal viable product. Why is that? The perfect e-learning does not exist, right? You always need to do modifications because the content might have changed, or you get some new feedback in from your learners. So it's very naive to think you have built something and then have a finished project. No, you have to go back to that every time. And that's the idea here. So if you even start building a project, bear that in mind and search for your way to have an MVP that can be launched, knowing I can perfect it later. So when you're building using this method, the first thing you try to do is have a prototype, have it launched, and then gather the feedback from your stakeholders. Mainly that's going to be your learners as well as the content experts, right? They will really quickly show you what's already working and what is really lacking and need to do some modifications, making sure that if you're doing your e-learning creation and you're really implementing that feedback, that you can prioritize the things that are really important for your learners and your content experts before launching it again, and maybe have a different iteration later. Now, the link with AI here is quite strong because just like we are learning, we have an AI integration set in FLOWSPARKS, meaning our clients can connect with their own AI model and have that working in FLOWSPARKS so that the templates can be filled in automatically. And I can also show you later how it actually works. But the idea is that with AI, I can just ask AI to fill in the template for me and straight go to a savvy prototype that I can launch, that I can request feedback on. And we have a way of having implemented feedback within the tool itself. And I go back to my project, doing the necessary changes with the priorities I've been given. And also for those changes, I can fall back using AI. So it means that using AI, I can very quickly build something, but with the time I have, I also have it more built effectively. I think that's also one of the values now that AI can really offer us. Now, I still have some time left, so I very quickly may show you how it actually look like building in FLOWSPARKS and how our AI model actually works. So I'm going to re-log in very quickly here. But it basically works the same way. So if I log in to a demo platform, there we go. I can open up the content manager, which is a widget that allows me to create new content. And for the people already familiar with FLOWSPARKS, this is what it usually looks like, where I can click here on the plus icon to pick the template I want to be produced by AI. So I'm going to pick the on-the-spot example you saw earlier on, and then I'm going to ask for AI support. Using that, I will have been given access to a sort of template that helps the creator with the prompting. As always, AI is only as strong as the prompting that is provided. So here we really try to guide our clients in making sure they get the right amount of content in their template. So I'm going to start off with the subject, which could be as simple as cybersecurity training, just to keep in line with what we saw earlier. I can set an audience. So let's say the core workers of a software company. I can also set the tone of voice. Do I want to make it a bit more funny? I can set like the expertise of the assistant. That's the way we're going to talk towards our learners within our e-learning. I can already set the learning time and the language I want to produce then. As you can see here, I have the possibility to upload source material I have laying around, asking the AI to go through that instead of roaming the internet to find all the information I need. I can already implement a summary and some learning objectives. Like, for example, learners should know how to handle a suspicious email. I click on next, and then I can select the amount of situations one presented. And because now my AI integration here is linked with OpenAI, but also DALL-E, I can ask DALL-E to generate some images. I can click start, and as you can see, it's busy and now creating my content. Now, this would go a lot faster than I would do it manually, implementing all that information in the templates, which is great, which means I have a very quick prototype. It has done me self a suggestion, which I think looks great. So that I very quickly have my prototype, I can launch that, I can ask feedback and perfect it based on a first version that's been provided by me with AI. So again, I have more time on hand to really see, okay, what I can do now, what kind of direction do I want to take my template with. Because we have limited time, I've already prepared a little example I did beforehand that is completely generated by AI with the prompts I've provided you. So again, we're going to have like a title page where you can click on start. I have a little explanation of how it works. And then again, I'm going to have my situations where it's a positive and negative answer and a situation on the left. Feedback is already going to be provided. And although that might not be the ideal version I'm working on, thanks to AI, I have so quickly been produced an MVP to continue working on. So that, in short, explains what the value is of AI in sense of the speed we now have gained using that integration.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that one, Sean. And of course, Stine as well. What did we all do without AI, I think is a big takeaway there. But if I was to maybe summarize all of that really fantastic information that you gave us into, I guess, more 4 actionable takeaways. We've got 1, we want to start with a clear learning goal. We want to make sure that we use a good structure to guide the design of our learning. We want to bring in storytelling to make sure that we're making it relevant and engaging our learners. And of course, we want to work smarter with AI to boost creativity and save time as well. So yeah, thanks so much again, guys. Now, unfortunately, we won't have time for a Q&A. However, there is lots more opportunities to get more of both We Are and FlowSparks. So firstly, tomorrow we do have a webinar with Stine, and it's all about getting started with We Are, and you can see where you can register there as well. While today we got kind of a high-level overview of the tool, this is a really good opportunity to get a kind of step-by-step deep dive on how to create those stories that will really engage your learners. And even more excitingly, both We Are and FlowSparks will be attending the ATD conference in Washington this coming May. So if you will be there, please do let us know. We'd absolutely love you to stop by. And of course, if you have any questions that we didn't cover, or you want to see example use cases, test out the tools for yourself, please do feel free to scan either this QR code or, of course, this QR code here, and you can continue the conversation with one of our learning experts. So yeah, one last time, thank you so much, Sean and Stine, and thank you for everybody that joined the webinar today. I hope it gave you some food for thought. We will, of course, send on the recording to everyone post-event. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, guys.